Welcome to the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to get local clients fast. Featuring interviews with local marketing and lead generation experts who will show you exactly how to attract local clients and dominate your market. And now, here's your host, Doran Aldana.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast. And this is your host, Doran Aldana, coming at you with another kick-ass episode. And today we've got an interview with the one, the only, Coach Burt. Michael Burt. This gentleman is an absolute phenom when it comes to helping business owners tap their full potential and take market share and produce million-dollar results, take things to a whole new level. For those of you who are uninitiated, Coach Burt is known as the $1 Million Machine, who has helped more business owners elevate their business faster, easier, more rapidly than any other coach. At least that's how he's been hailed. You're about to discover in a moment why that is. Those who have been coached by Coach Burt routinely show an average of a 43% increase in sales in one calendar year. That's what we call wicked fast results. He specializes in coaching aggressive-minded, progressive-minded companies and individuals in highly commoditized and saturated markets, how to achieve new levels of breakthrough success, results, profits, all that good stuff. So without further ado, Coach Burt, welcome to the call, man. Stoked to have you with us.
Absolutely, man. What an introduction. You got me excited.
It's kind of convenient that it's all true, but yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Bill's in the mail.
That's right. So, I'm glad to join you, man. Thank you.
Great to have you, man. So why don't we dive in, and for those who aren't familiar with your journey, share a little bit about your story, how you got to be, the infamous, the notorious, the awesome Coach Burt in terms of helping people create breakthroughs in their business. How'd you get your start in sales and marketing, and how'd you get to be in this expert status in helping business owners really create unprecedented breakthrough results? I'm curious.
From 18 to 25, I was a deep disciple of Dr. Stephen Covey, and Covey taught, the 7 habits of highly effective people, the principle-centered leadership. But one of the biggest things that he taught was the concept of the whole person theory, which is how do you tap into the whole person, the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit of a person. At that time, I was a basketball coach. I spent the first adult decade of my life from 20 to 30 as a head women's basketball coach. And we were using this whole person theory model to win. And so what happened is we began to win at very high levels. People began to ask me, what are you doing? How can you do it for our people? And I said, I don't really have time to tell you, but what if I start writing books and you can study my philosophy in the books? Well, when I wrote the books, businesses began to call me and ask me to speak to and coach their people. And I went out and started speaking with adults and coaching adults and really enjoyed it. And so at 31 years old, I retired from athletic coaching to build a coaching company where basically all we do now is coach small to mid-sized entrepreneurs or solopreneurs that are trying to build, grow, and scale a business. But much of my background is it just in the psychology of getting people to a much higher state, a much better place in their life, of taking lower-level resources to much higher levels of productivity. And I'm still doing that today. I'm just doing it with businesses versus building a championship program.
Very interesting. So tell us more about this whole person theory. What exactly is that in layman terms?
Well, when you look at people, and what we say to people is they have a lot of potential. We tell kids they have potential. Well, potential is just kinetic energy that is really just stored until utilized. It's the idea of embryonic growth. We'll be better today than we were yesterday. But actually, we are creatures of habit, so we'll contract and retreat when we get uncomfortable. We won't fight through discomfort. So we need a coach in our life. Well, the coach is going to coach us in 4 areas: knowledge for the mind, skills for the body, desire for the heart, and confidence for the spirit. So when I'm coaching a small business owner, I'm looking at where are they deficient? Do they have the knowledge they need? Do they have the skill they need? Do they have the desire they need? Do they have the confidence they need? And typically people have one missing structure there. They don't know what they need to know to grow a small business. Or they don't have the desire or passion to fight through the discomfort, or they don't have the confidence to go do it. So it gives me a framework when I'm coaching a person to quickly diagnose where their personal missing structure is.
Interesting. So those are the 4 facets of success to really unleash and unlock the full potential in someone. Because people often see potential, especially if you're an employer, you'll see potential in someone. You'll often say, they're not there yet, but I just feel they've got the potential. But often, we're getting sedated and seduced by the ether of potential, and we're so often not unleashing it, not unlocking it, which is a perennial frustration for obvious reasons, because we can see it, we can feel it, but it's almost like the Loch Ness Monster. You talk about it, but you never see it. So it's kind of a novel concept to be able to actually see it be unlocked and unleashed.
Well, think of it like this. Most people do not have training programs. So their people are not getting any better, especially at the small business level. I believe training is not something you did, it's something you do every day. But most people have not been trained. They've not been coached. They've not been coaching how to answer the phone. They've not been coaching how to market. They've not been coached in how to extract referrals. They've not been coached in how to prospect every day. They haven't been coached in how to handle customer complaints. And small businesses typically do not train and coach their people. If they do, it's very random and sporadic. So, no surprise to me that most of these businesses do not grow because they don't have a stimulus. They don't have an expert who's helping them basically find and fill these missing structures in both their employees and their marketing plan and their sales cycle and their promotion cycle.
Right. And left to their own devices, a object in motion will tend to stay in motion until acted upon by an outside force. This is the laws of physics. And so they tend to stay stagnant if they are stagnant. If they're regressing, they tend to continue to regress. Rarely will a great idea just pounce upon you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is, without this coach, many small businesses, they can't even think about dominating because they're still in such a survival mode. They've got to move from a survival state to where they have some excess cash. And I define a good small business as a business that gives me excess cash at the end of every month. I can then reinvest that cash. I can reinvest that capital into people, infrastructure, marketing, growth, expansion, scalability. But without any excess cash, if I'm just surviving, and most small businesses just survive, they can't even get into a mindset of local domination or even dominating the backyard.
Right. They're just surviving, let alone thriving. I mean, thriving is obviously the idea that they're striving towards, but most people never get out of survival mode. So I would concur on that. And so obviously you've learned through the game of basketball how to unleash the capabilities and capacities of top talent on the basketball court. And apparently those skills and that capability translate quite nicely to the business arena. Because you've been able to, shift quite seamlessly from the basketball court into being a coach in business. And so tell us about these books that kind of are a little bit of the launching pad to you getting your message out to the marketplace. Give us the titles of your books just so we know what to look for when we're looking for Coach Burt.
Well, it's interesting. The first book I wrote was for coaches called Changing Lives Through Coaching, and I actually wrote it for other coaches because I was a young coach and there was no manual in how to be successful. And I said, man, it's really a shame that a good young coach doesn't have a manual on how to grow the whole person and build a winning program. At that time, I was just trying to build a championship program. I hadn't won any championships yet. So my first book was on that. My second book was a leadership book called The Inspirational Leader. My third book was a personal growth book called This Ain't No Practice Life. Now I write very specific books like Person of Interest, how to become the go-to player in your space, which I would recommend for every small business owner. I write books like $1 Million Follow-Up, or my new coach, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life, which is part motivation, but really all of the structures. And you're to your point about how does the basketball play into it. Listen, basketball is a game of probability. So everything I did was based on percentages and it was based on probability. If we did certain things every day, we increased the probability of winning. Well, if I'm running a small business, if I prospect for 2 hours a day, I increase the probability of selling something. If I'm making 25 calls a week and I want to make more money, I do more. I make 50 calls a week and I increase. I hire more people. I build a bigger staff. So what I really brought was a lot of the methodology of let's break these percentages down and let's turn it into a science of selling, of follow-up, of extraction of referral, of getting attention for our business. So because of my basketball background, my mind thinks in very methodical ways and in a very systematic way. So when I'm growing a small business, it's not random or sporadic. I'm coaching on very specific things that I expect to get a 40% bump on or more in a 1-year cycle.
Reminds me of Coach Wooden, one of the stories it talks about. For those of you who aren't familiar, I can't imagine anyone not, but for the uninitiated, Coach Wooden, he's the most winningest basketball coach of all time in NCAA men's basketball. I think he won like 7 in a row or some obscene amount. Anyway, one of his little stories is that he would teach these guys who are grown men who've been playing basketball since they were knee-high to a grasshopper, how to put on their sock and then put on their shoe, and how to lace their shoe. Something very simple, just a simple fundamental. And these guys would be balking, saying, dude, teach me some fancy stuff. And he's like, you got to learn the basics before you learn the exotics. And if you can't do this right, then next thing you know, you're going to have blisters, and it's going to, decrease the probability of success when you got a blister out there and you're going against someone who doesn't have a blister with the same level of talent that you do. So it reminds me about these little things that make a big difference. And each little thing increases the probability of success, as you would say. Right. So tell us about some of those items, those factors that increase the probability of success that a lot of small business owners may be neglecting, maybe thinking, oh, that's just the basics. And yet they're not even doing the basics. And they're chasing after the bright, shiny objects. They're squirreling from one bright, shiny object to the next, and yet they're neglecting the fundamentals of success. Give us some of those essentials, if you will. Maybe what we could do actually is unpack this inside of these 4 areas, the 3 missing structures. Yep. We talked about those: knowledge, skill, desire, confidence. Talk about those, but also maybe unpack some of the fundamentals inside of that are often overlooked.
Well, let's take the missing structure. The fundamentals of business are, to me, I break it down and make it very simple. The purpose of any business is to create a customer. And so when you think about this, there's really 4 things that small businesses don't have fundamentals in. Number 1, how they explain their services. Most entrepreneurs or small business owners have never been coached in how to explain their services in a compelling way. So this affects their ability to make outbound calls. It affects their ability to hire the right people. It affects their ability to market. It affects their ability to differentiate. So we actually teach people a 6-step framework in how to explain what it is they do. And we actually teach them to lead with what they believe, not what they do. So the first step is
what's the difference between that, by the way?
Well, most people lead, it would be like a real estate agent. I'm here in Las Vegas today coaching real estate agents, and it would be like me saying, well, what do you do for a living? And they say, well, I'm a real estate agent. That's a commodity. There's millions of real estate agents. We would teach an agent to say this. Before I tell you what I do, let me back up and tell you what I believe. I believe every person deserves the right to have a professional represent them when they buy, sell, build, or finance real estate. And because of that belief, I went into the real estate profession. There's really 3 special skill sets I have: negotiating on your behalf, regulating emotions, and getting more eyeballs on your property. Now, I've been able to do this for over 600 people over my last 20 years of experience. And if we could do this for you like I've done it for them, what would stop us from at least getting started? You see, that's a much better way to explain your services than say, I'm a real estate agent.
Right. Just a replaceable commodity, replaceable cog in the wheel.
And the way you decommoditize yourself many times is in how you articulate your value. So once you have a good explanation of service, you can get on a podcast like this. You can create marketing documents. You can do events. You can get up in front of people to speak. You can make outbound sales calls, because people do business with other people that believe the same things they do. People do business with other people that believe the same things they do. So, if you're running a small business, you lead with what you believe. That's who you're going to attract. So that's one big missing structure. We then move to the selling system, because it doesn't matter if you're running a daycare. It doesn't matter if you're running a real estate business, a mortgage business, an insurance business. There has got to be a sales cycle that is happening every day to generate new customers. I recommend all of my coaching clients a minimum of 2 hours of outbound prospecting every day. And I would say that to a daycare. Do we have somebody here every day calling on parents to bring their kids to our daycare? Do we have somebody every day calling on current clients asking for referrals? Do we have somebody every day calling on people we believe we can help, or calling on strategic partners? 9 out of 10 businesses I coach do not have that. So they got no clear explanation of service. They've got no selling cycle. They do not have a good 7-touch follow-up when a person indicates interest, which is why I wrote the book, $1 Million Follow-Up. So we teach, once a person shows interest in your product or service, how to go 7 great touches to compel them to a buying decision, because just like you said, an object at rest stays at rest unless acted on by an outside force. And the fourth missing structure is they don't know how to extract referrals from their current clients. They don't ask at the right times. They don't know how to ask. So these are all things that people need to be trained in. Now, what will happen when a person is coached in these, or your employees are coached in these, is you're going to get a significant increase in business, which is where I get that 43% increase. Coach people always outperform uncoached people.
Absolutely. And that was certainly something you were intimately acquainted with in the basketball arena. Coach Wooden's another shining example. You know, his people were some of the best trained basketball players in the world, and that's why they were perennial champions year after year after year, not necessarily more athletic, just better trained. So,
absolutely.
You know, bringing that into the business world, so often we overlook that and we think, well, you know, we take it for granted. We think, you know, they should know it. You know, it's not rocket science. We're not talking backflips here. Just pick up the phone and make a call. That we just assume and presume that the people we have on our team, you know, can figure it out like we do. We can fly by the seat of our pants and wing it, but, you know, unfortunately our team can't in most cases. So I'm just going to
let me say something on that point. Let me say something on that point there. Most of the confusion, all right, so let's look at confusion as a problem that appears to have no immediate solution to it. A confusion is randomness in motion. That's a confusion. Well, most confusions in any small business are created by the leader, because the leader is not clear. And I was guilty of this too. I assumed people knew what time to show up, how to turn the lights on, how to turn the music on, how to meet and greet a customer, how to answer the phone, how to handle a complaint. Well, what I really figured out by studying lots of small businesses is that they didn't. So what I went back and I said, I want to eliminate any confusion that we have here by clearly defining each person's role and what the expectations are of every single role. So the small business owner creates confusion by not giving clear instruction and not holding people accountable and not having repetition, practice, and role play every day. There's not a training going on. So how can an employee get any better? Coach Wooden spent hours with those players every day. I spent 5.5 hours a day with my players. So if you've got a salesperson that's never been trained, how do you expect them to get better if you're not training them and holding them accountable every day? You really can't. So that's a problem with the business owner.
Agreed. Yeah, it all starts from the top down. Everything rises and falls on leadership. No doubt about that. So just to recap the 3 points you said, the 4 areas that people are dropping the ball typically is in not having a compelling, clear explanation of their services or their product, not having a pre-established, proactive selling structure, such as you say, 2 hours of outbound calling a day, not having a multi-step follow-up to turn prospects into clients. And then the fourth piece is not having the system to turn clients into evangelists, into spawning more and more referrals and repeat business. Is that right?
Yep. Those are the biggest ones we coach on. I mean, we coach on everything from eliminating confusion to how to ask without consideration to, I mean, we coach on a lot of things that you need to grow. But like I said, we got to do it in a systematic way, or it's just edutainment.
Right. And obviously just knowing about it ain't enough. We already know pretty much a lot of this stuff. The problem is we're not doing it. So why don't we speak to that? What do you think is the difference maker that allows people like these monster producers that you help create $1 million results for actually take this knowledge and do something with it that catalyzes such extraordinary results? Whereas other people, they know about this stuff, they have the head knowledge, but it doesn't get to their heart such that they actually do something about it. What is it about these monster producers that has them be so proactively and defiantly committed to taking consistent action and actually executing on this stuff?
Well, most of the people that come to me are already successful to a certain point, but they've reached the ceiling. These may be people that, are earning anywhere between $100,000 and $5 million a year. Okay, but they've hit a ceiling. They can't see the picture when they're inside the frame. They want to break through that ceiling. So there's a strong prey drive already in them to be successful. They want to be successful. They just don't know how.
So you're not trying to motivate them. You just attract motivated people. Is that the idea?
I do. Now, I do think there's a motivational component, which is why my coaching structure is in 30-day cycles. I do think people need to be revived. I think they need to be reminded. I think they need to rev up their engine because they get beat up in the world. I do think they need to recommit every 30 days. So what I've created is really a high-touch, high-frequency coaching program where there's 12 to 15 touches a month. There's multiple live events. There's online programming. I mean, it's a very intense experience. So it's not just a little coaching here and there. It's very structured. We're moving them through cycles toward a dominant focus. We're looking at their actuals versus their goals every 30 days. We're assigning accountability coaches to them. I mean, we're really running a big-time coaching program. There's over 600 people in there, and that's growing by 30 or 40 a month. So, my job as the architect of this is to constantly bring concepts and mental constructs that every time I coach a person, they walk away and go, dang, that immediately can help me. I can walk out of here today and use exactly what he said. This month we taught how to extract 5.7 referrals. That's an immediate concept you can go and get better at and start extracting more referrals from that one course.
Well, now you've got me tantalized, so we got to get into that. So why don't we look at these 4 different areas where people are dropping the ball, explaining their services, selling structure, follow-up, and referrals, and just unpack some of the habits that monster producers have in those 4 areas that the mediocre majority have no clue about, that really separates the 1% income earners, the top 1% income earners, from all the rest.
Well, the biggest habit, I think, is the biggest habit that I see that is a dedicated purpose, a dedicated focus, attention on new money every day. This is a big problem with the small business owner. They start every day off in a reactive stance. So the monster producers I'm coaching use a certain planning system. They have very clearly defined time block during the day. They prospect for 2 hours. They go 7 to 15 touches in their follow-up. They're doing events every month. These habits generate leads. They generate business. They generate activity. And let's go back to the probability game. If I go to my shop, my mortgage shop, and I sit in there all day long and I wait on a loan to come through, or I wait on a real estate agent to bring me something, what I've really done is I put my future in another person's hands. And one of my principles is never allow another person to stand between you and your destiny. And when you go to work and you wait on something to happen, whatever that is, okay, then you are in essence putting your future in other people's hands. What I want to do is get that control back and say, look, I want to control the probability we're going to sell something today. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to time block. We're going to prospect from 9 to 11. We're going to deal with current customers from 1 to 3. We're going to clean up the day from 3 to 5. We're going to start every morning off with training, because I believe training is something you do every day. It's not something you do every now and then. And so what I'm doing is I'm eliminating a confusion of time. Now, if I was running a restaurant this past week, I had dinner with Johnny Carrabba. Johnny Carrabba founded the original Carrabba's restaurant. And he walked me through the original Carrabba's restaurant. There's now 240 of those. And you should have seen how well these people were trained. You should have seen how clean the restaurant was. You should have seen how good their customer service was. And you know why? Because there was a dedicated concept toward training and coaching his people with expectations. So if you're going to make it work, you got to have great content that you're coaching people on. You got to have repetition. They got to do it every day. They got to practice and role play, and you got to hold them accountable. And when those 4 things are in place for the small business owner, things are going to get better. Now, most small business owners are just trying to survive or make it through the day because of the number of things hitting them in different directions, so they can't even think about some of these things I'm talking about. Or they never get coached themselves, so they just continue to struggle. And it's a shame, because when we know better, we do better. But if you don't put yourself in position to get better, the people in our program are paying a minimum of $499 a month. That's a $6,000 investment. And some of those will tell you, Man, I wish I would have done this 5 years ago or 10 years ago because I've made another $100,000 or $200,000. And I'm like, if I could tell you up front, if you could put 6 in and make 200 back, wouldn't it be a good investment? But small business owners, a lot of mortgage originators, a lot of real estate agents, they don't understand the difference between cost and worth. There's a cost to something and there's a worth to something. So what does it matter if it costs $6,000 if you do 12 more loans and make $35,000 more or $50,000 more dollars? Why does it matter that you paid 6 to get to 50?
Right. And a big piece of it isn't necessarily just the knowledge and the inspiration and the education you're getting. It's also the fact you got skin in the game. All of a sudden you got a fire on your butt to actually do something with this knowledge because you got skin in the game and you're investing 6 G's or whatever it happens to be. And now you got that positive pressure to get you off your butt and into the game and get you pressing yourself out of your comfort zone and reaching higher. And, getting in the gym and working those muscles to get stronger. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff you're teaching isn't necessarily rocket science. It's just simple, profound yet simple principles. But the reason why your people are getting such great results is not just because they're profound, not just because they work, not just because they're elegant, but most importantly because they're actually investing in themselves to a point where they actually take it seriously and they show up and they start playing the game at a higher level. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
they got new knowledge. They listen, if they had the knowledge they needed, they wouldn't be struggling. So, like I'm working on a book right now called Single Digit Millionaire. And it's about basically how you break $1 million of net worth, because a lot of people will never break that threshold. But the subtitle is and how to get to double digits. Because once you get to single digits as a millionaire, you figure out that really ain't a lot of money. And there's a big difference between being worth $1 million or being worth $20 million.
Absolutely.
And so the book is about how do you get to your first million, which seems very hard to people. And I want to say, look, I was a high school basketball coach. I never made more than $55,000 or $60,000 a year. I worked 80 hours a week, only to figure out that there was another arena that would compensate me at 10 times the level that I was earning, and I could do it in half the time. And so, if I can do it, the book is going to be, if I can do it, look, I can show you how to do it. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people just struggle. Most small business owners are earning about $47,000 a year. That's what the stats tell me. That's what the percentages tell me.
Yep.
Or they're breaking even. They're breaking even. Listen, breaking even is not successful.
No.
What if as a basketball coach I said, look, I'm only going to win 50% of my games. Is that okay? If I told my boss I'm only going to win 50% of my games, are you okay with that? I mean,
that's just getting by.
So
that's just
listen,
survival mode.
I'm going to speak to these real estate agents in a few minutes here in Las Vegas, and I'm going to make an offer at the end for them to get coached. There will be a very small percentage of them that will take advantage of that. It doesn't matter. Listen, I've tried it at $97, $697, $6,000. It doesn't matter. If A, I have to do a better job selling it, but B, they have to see on a $697 investment, I could learn one thing or two things that I multiply that by 10, 20, or 30.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, everyone wants to be a champion, but very few people are willing to do what it takes to become a champion. And
absolutely.
That's why our job is not to take chickens and strap wings on them and try and make them fly. Our job is to find the eagles who already have the wings and show them how to soar. Everyone has an eagle inside of them. Everyone has that eagle capacity, but not everyone's got the fire in their belly to do what it takes to become an eagle and to soar to new heights. And that's why we do these podcast episodes, is to equip the eagles. Because let's be real, the chickens are not going to be listening to this podcast. The chickens are going to be watching some show on Netflix. So that increases the odds. Speaking of increasing the odds, that increases the odds significantly. Chances are the odds that someone will enroll in your program at one of these conferences, educational conferences, is much higher than the normal odds of just spraying and praying to the general real estate population. So you've increased your odds just congregating a bunch of educational-minded, progressive-minded people in one room. So that's got to help.
Okay.
But again, then there's the next level, which is people who are willing to invest skin in the game to really be challenged and stretched to the next level, and to have a coach to lead them into next level results. So tell me some more about monster producer routines. We've talked about the proactive approach, shifting from a reactive approach to a proactive approach, block scheduling, planning the work, working the plan, having dedicated time to attract new money every day. And I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So what else do you have as a quintessential trait of a monster producer, a habit of a monster producer that separates them from the rest of the mediocre?
Well, I would end on this note. The promotion. I think one of the biggest things a small business owner does not understand is the concept of promotion. And promotion is elevation above the noise. In the old days, they stood on something. The politicians stood on something to get a platform, to get above the noise. Well, most small business owners have not even given any consideration at all to how they're going to promote and market their business. I mean, relentlessly. I'm talking about constant promotion to their current clients, constant promotion to their potential clients, constant promotion to the world. Because I can have an awareness of something, but not have a deep awareness of it. I can know who you are, but still have no idea how you can help me. So I think sometimes we go to work expecting people to know, well, Coach Burt's a coach. They don't tell you what he coach on, who he coach, how much it costs, how he can help, what kind of results he gets. It's my job today to coach these agents from RE/MAX, to coach the mortgage originators I coach, to coach all of these people in such a way they go, God, I got to have that guy. I can't not have that guy. That guy is an essential piece of my equation. That's how valuable that guy is. That's what I want them thinking.
Yeah, and obviously
people don't think like this.
Yeah, and obviously, this podcast is a great example of that. If they just heard your name, they're like, who's Coach Burt? They listen to a podcast with Coach Burt, and they get some of these knowledge bombs hitting their heart with impact. All of a sudden, they're like, dang, I need me some more Coach Burt up in here, because this guy is the real deal. So there you go. It's, elevating above the noise and being able to differentiate. So with that in mind, being that we're already almost up on time, how can people get more of you if they're picking up what you're dropping down and they're digging what you've been serving up today? How can they get more of you? How can they reach out to you?
Sure. They can go to CoachBurt.com. It's BURT as in tiger.com. I have coaching programs. We're coaching people all over the world. So it doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter what profession they're in. We're coaching virtually every profession you can imagine. And we're a true coaching company, which means we are engaging you in a set of systematic behaviors that allows you to get a significant increase in your business by a person who knows how to do it, by a person who's coaching some of the top people in the world. So, we're not just selling you a product and saying good luck. We're in there coaching you, man. We're trying to get you that significant increase. To a real estate agent, it may be 5, 6, 10 more deals a year, which could be $25,000, $40,000, $60,000 more dollars. I mean, I'm coaching a $142 million mortgage originator right now. I'm coaching the number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, and number 9 mortgage originators in the state of Tennessee. So there's a reason these people are coming to us, because they're already really good. I mean, these people are just freaks of nature.
Killing it.
I mean, but they still want to kill it some more, which is why they're coming to our coaching program. And that's really the concept of monster producer. We define monster producer as a legendary creature that combines multiple skills to dominate a market. And there's a certain cut of person out there that would like to dominate the market. So that's what the program is. We'd love to just talk to you about it. We let people sit in on one for free. So if anytime you'd like to experience monster producer in person or online, I teach it about 5 to 7 times per month, and you can sit in on any of those as a VIP guest to me, just to check it out and see how it can help you.
There you go, folks. You guys all need to check that out. That's CoachBurt.com, CoachBurt.com. So if you didn't know, now you know, CoachBurt.com. As we wrap up, thank you, by the way, Coach Burt, for hanging with us. It feels like it's just swept by in a nanosecond. There's so much more I'd love to ask you, so much more I'd love to dive into and peel back your cranium and plumb more profit-producing knowledge bombs from you. But time is pretty much up. So what would you say would be the last lingering golden nugget that you'd like to have our audience marinate their mind on as we leave this conversation today? Something that you want to leave them with that would really have impact.
Yeah, it would be my life's mission, which is that every person on planet Earth would have a good coach in their life. Listen, people who have great coaches outperform people who don't. Who's coaching you matters. And I don't care if you're 40 or 70 or 18. You need a person in your life who can help find and fill your missing structures and push you through the discomfort so that you can achieve the results that you were made to go get. That would be my final statement.
And I endorse that statement. It's interesting that you say that, quite timely and serendipitous, because literally right before I got on this podcast episode with you, Coach Burt, I was renewing a 1-year contract with my coach for 100 G's. 100 G's, most people don't even make that much, and I'm investing in that annually to level up my game, both personally and professionally, and to associate with Eagles, because when you hang with Eagles, you can't help but being one of them. And if you think education's expensive, friends, try ignorance. I tried that for years. That kept me broke. That kept me broke as a joke. That kept me struggling.
I just hate that I didn't get to you before you signed that 100 G contract. You could have shared some of that with me.
Well, you know what? I'm taking next level stretches to next levels and beyonds, and there's no such thing as too many coaches. You know, I'm a big believer in the sports analogy of having specialized coaches. If you look at MMA fighters, they got a grappling coach, a striking coach, a boxing coach, a jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach, a mindset coach, a nutritionist coach. So, I'm down with leveling up my suite of experts, man. Never too many experts in your corner to help you win, as far as I'm concerned.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for having me. I got to get in here and speak to these agents. Hey, listen, great podcast, great interview questions, and I'm just honored that you spent some time with me today.
Hey, likewise. Thank you so much on behalf of our audience. You've been awesome. Yeah, I know you're going to knock these people's socks off you're about to speak to. You're going to electrify them and change their lives. So I'm super stoked that we had an opportunity to connect with you today. And so for those of you listening, that's all for now. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast. So if tips galore that help you soar is what you adore, know this: we've got more in store. Remember, nothing happens without implementation. So in the meantime and between time, go forth, engage. It's time for Operation Domination.